like nice, calm. But yeah,
Were there any women in the Red Arrows, Dan?
There was Kirsty, and she was, I think 2013, 2014. Kirsty Murphy is her name. She came and joined the team, and did, she was doing really, really well. And unfortunately, in her period, she left early because there were a number of incidents, and 2 guys lost their lives at the time. But she went off to join a civilian display team, actually called the Blades, based up at Sywell, who do a bunch of stuff. They're really good, and she was a display pilot with them. But that is it. And you get asked a lot, why aren't there more? And it's a really difficult question to answer, because it's such a minefield. But I've had probably 3 or 4 very good friends who I've flown fighters with, and so you speak to them and say, look, why don't you come? Whilst I'm in the team, we can vouch you. You'd love it. It's great. You're awesome. You're the kind of character we would want in this team. And you hit this wall, because it is a male-dominated environment anyway. So female percentage of fighter pilots is low. So if young girls are listening to this, go and be fighter pilots, because I would get you to go and check out a girl called Mandy Hickson, who's a speaker at the moment. She was the 2nd ever female tornado pilot in the RAF, and she's doing really well. But she's put a book out called Officer Not a Gentleman, which is awesome, and it describes her whole career. And she had a very rewarding career and loved it. But she's trying to encourage more girls to come in. The problem is, it's that just getting through that male-dominated environment of putting people off rather than inviting people in. Because I say, in fact, I was going to name the other girl I flew with, but sometimes it can get quite sensitive naming people.
But it's it's a bit like in the military and the Marines and stuff, like in SAS. Like it is a male-dominated world, and it shouldn't necessarily have to be. But whilst there's that period of, if we're being optimistic and hopeful, transition, that is a really sticky situation as well for people, the guys, the men who are already part of that world, to adapt to having women come into it.
Yeah, and I think the tide definitely changed by the time I got there, because some of my instructors were female. So when you're being taught by females, like, it's already in your psyche. When I went through flying training, I had 2 girls on my course who went on to be fighter pilots. When I got to the front line, there was 3 fighter pilots there, and they were owning it. They were super good. And so you just think it was I honestly, in my time on those squadrons, there was 2 or 3 girls around, and I never once thought anything other than band. It sounds bad, doesn't it? Band of brothers, probably the wrong parlance to use, but that is what it's like there. That's it. Everywhere, it was one and all. And it was, especially when you're in your kit, in your jet helmet, on all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. It doesn't ever matter. So, and that was really cool.
That's one thing that, you obviously do have to have a certain element of physical strength, right, to withstand the G-force and stuff.
I don't know. No. You have to have a level of physical fitness. That's it. Actually, it's really bad. Scientifically, the shorter, fatter, and unfitter you are, the better you are at pulling G-ish. It's not true. It's not solely that way, because if you're fitter, you can deal with it heavy. But if you're, because it's all to do with how quickly your blood moves around, right? So if you're short, fat, and not very healthy, your blood doesn't shift around your body too much. So you're in a good place. But just going back to that point, so it's out of the RAF take 3 people a year of fighter pilots, of which there are going to be a couple hundred. So the percentage is low of how many fighter pilots come a Red Arrow every year anyway. Of that selection of fighter pilots, there's already a tiny percentage of women there. So that needs to change in order to be, more people, A, want it, B, be eligible for it. And this is the one factor that you can't really change, and this stops blokes from joining as well, is that 1,500 hours is there for a reason. That's for when, we've talked about it, for when it goes wrong, for those oh shit moments, for that compartmentalization, for that, we call it airmanship. It's just understand. It's like driving, a more experienced driver understands the situation developing quicker than reacting to it happening immediately. Or experienced sport people can see a play about to happen before it's happened. You need that. I'm bringing you into this, Mel. That's why I'm trying to rope you in. But the point is, with that, to get that level of experience, by the time you've got that level of experience, you're normally early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. And, especially girls been to university, flown the front line, or ladies, I should say, sorry, and have gone and done their stuff, have flown jets. That that is traditionally, and there's something that has become an issue, is that's traditionally when we start wanting to, marry our partners or start families. And blokes don't have as much of an issue starting families later in life, sometimes with some of the complications naturally that women can have. And so there has been issues where we've gone, right, please apply. But especially if you're spending, as I mentioned there, every weekend between Easter and October in the summer is written off because you're displaying, because that's when air shows are. You're doing 70 fixtures a season. That's not an issue for someone who wants to get involved and do it. But if you are a family orientated person, especially trying to start a family, and the second you fall pregnant, you're not allowed to fly. So that's another aspect. Not for the team, we can make up for that with you. This year they're flying 7, but if it's your dream to do it, you really have to buy into it for 3 years. And so you're talking 31 to 34, 32 to 35, especially if you don't, like me, I didn't get in for 3 goes.
It's diminishing all the time, isn't it?
And that's the thing. And that's one of the reasons, if you could get in at 27, you probably find more females applying for it. That's the fact. But so you've got to have a look at, right.
But that said, let's not get like what's the word, into like these debates. But not every woman wants to have children, do they? And if there were more opportunities made clear early on for girls at a young age as to the types of careers that they could go into, then for somebody who is not of a family orientation, then that could be something they
go
don't
for it. And I would encourage any woman to apply to be a fighter pilot in the Air Force, and I would encourage any female fighter pilot who would love to be the Reds to join it, because it's fucking awesome. And it doesn't, and you would have such a rewarding. I loved every second of it. And I would, if you could, it doesn't matter who you are. If you trip the performance baseline, of which there has to be a minimum performance baseline, and after that, it doesn't matter. If you're the right character, you love it, boom, you're in. That's by my book. And so it'd be amazing to see more females fly for the Red Arrows over the years, and I hope it happens.